Hello, scrappers, recyclers, and those who like to invest in the companies that surround the world of scrapping and recycling. Welcome to Shark Scrapper Live. We are coming at you on the second day of April 2023. We've got some really cool stuff to talk about today. I'm really looking forward to diving right in. Remember, this Shark Scrapper Live episode is brought to you by me because I don't have any sponsors. But hey, if you represent a big company with a lot of money and you want to sponsor me, give me a call. How's everybody doing out there scrapping on the fly and scrapping Irish? It's hard to say which one of you I should give credit to. You know, scrapping Irish is always kind of first. Because he's like my super mod for this channel. But scrapping on the fly was right in there. Electronic Scrapper, welcome. See you scrapping. Welcome, Roger. It's great to see you back on your feet again, man. Man, kudos to whoever that was that got you the truck. And great to hear that they've released your funds so that you can start paying that back, man. That's awesome, man. I'm really excited for you. Cruiser Mac, welcome into the show. How's the weather going up there, Cruiser? You got snow on the ground, or things let up a little bit for you? We had a really awesome thunderstorm north of us here yesterday, but we had a lot of blowing wind. I mean, wind gusts, and it broke one of my gates. I'm going through the gate, and this gust of wind came and just ripped the gate right out of my hand, popped it off the hinges. It's like, oh, geez, one thing after another. Anyway, we're going to get there. We got to get that fixed. Robert, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. JR Cat, great to have you on board. All right, well, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about what's happening with gold and silver and the gold to silver ratio in this episode. And the reason I want to do that is because we've got a really great, a classic example of how to understand gold to silver ratio that kind of set up over the last week and makes it kind of clear on that ratio. So hey Rafael, great to see you here, man. Board Sort Chris, welcome. Holy cow, Chris is running a generator for the past 26 hours. Yeah, man. Okay, you win. All I did was have a gate ripped off the hinges. I can fix that. Ay. And Robert's got snow on the ground and it's raining in North Dakota. Yeah, well, yeah. And blizzard with another foot of snow coming Tuesday. Wow, man. It's been a crazy winter. All right, let's get on to gold. What do you say? Come on, let's get over here to gold and the gold to silver ratio. Now, first of all, we're looking at 1 week. Here we are, 1 week of the gold prices. And again, I use APMEX. It's a company that I have bought and sold my physical silver and gold with. I also use Kitco. It's another one of the charts that you'll see me go to. Both of them good companies to do business with. No drama. You buy the stuff, it shows up. You sell the stuff, you get paid. It's just good companies to do business with. Bush Dog Scrapper, welcome. Wannabe Scrapper, welcome. New England Scrapper, hey, great to see you, man. Great to have you here. So what I noticed was interesting here with gold and the gold to silver ratio that really helps us to understand a little bit. So you can see here with gold, we had it was kind of drops, it kind of comes up. We got this running around. But overall, it was down a little bit, 0.48%. Okay, so down a little bit. Silver for the 1 week was up 3.8%. So let's think about the gold to silver ratio now. The gold to silver ratio says how many ounces of silver do I need to buy 1 ounce of gold? So if gold is kind of flat or a little bit down and silver's up, what do we expect to have happen with the gold to silver ratio? Go ahead and drop your comments. Is it going up or going down? Yes, this is like, your high school quiz, right? So before I get there, I want to see some comments. What do we expect to have happen if the price of gold for the week is down a little bit, but kind of flat, but the price of silver is overall up, 4% or so. So let's see who is going to nail this in the comments. It takes a little bit for the comments to pop up here. So I'm looking. Hey, Ian, great to see you here, man. So Ian, you just popped in, so I don't know if you heard the question. Gold is down a little bit for the week, about 0.48%. Silver is up for the week, 3.88%. So what do we expect to see with the gold to silver ratio? Bush Dog, we're not talking copper right now. We're talking gold and silver. Come on. Get with the program here, bud. Okay, I'm waiting. I'm not seeing anybody jumping on this one. Are y'all just not, you need more coffee or Coke or Pepsi? Ugh. All right, nobody's jumping on this one, so we're just going to get right to it. Here's the gold to silver ratio for the week, down 3.9%. Yeah, so it's down because silver is doing better right now than gold. Right? So let's go back and look at it. Silver went up 3.88%. Gold went down just a little bit, roughly 0.5%. So what that means is that it takes less silver to buy that ounce of gold, right? So, at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do anything because I don't trade on the gold to silver ratio. I like to keep a little bit of physical gold. I like to keep a little bit of physical silver, but I don't pay attention to the gold to silver ratio. Now, there are people out there that love the gold to silver ratio, and they will swear by selling gold to buy silver, selling silver to buy gold based on the gold to silver ratio. But a lot of times they wait for extremes, like they wait for the gold to silver ratio to, they wait for the gold to silver ratio to get up into the 90s. So you can see right now it's 81.36, but they'll wait for this to get up in the 90s before they'll do any transactions, or they're going to wait for this to drop even further before they do any transactions. So I just thought this was really interesting to see how clearly we can demonstrate the gold to silver ratio as in just a 1 week time frame. So let's see, out of curiosity, let's go over here. We're at gold. Let's look at the year to date. Gold is up 8%. Let's see what silver is doing for the year to date. Silver is relatively flat. So when we go down to the gold to silver ratio for year to date, we see that it climbed as gold was climbing, and now it's been dropping off. But it is roughly up 8% because that's what gold did, right? So very interesting to, just to look at these. So again, here, let's slow this down. Right here, 7.8%. The gold to silver ratio is up 7.8%. Silver didn't do much moving. Silver is only up about 0.5%. So that means gold had to do something. And if we go here, we can see that gold was up 8%. So that's why the gold to silver ratio is up 8%. Now, right here is when a lot of people would have been trading their gold and silver. because it was pushing over 90. All right. Questions, comments, thoughts on the gold to silver ratio? Hope everybody got that. It's one of those things that a lot of people like to look at in the precious metal market. But again, for most of us, it's just a question of, are you buying any physical gold or silver? And if you are, why are you buying it, right? I buy it as a hedge. So I'm looking for low premiums. So for me, I'm just buying rounds and bars with a reputable name like Sunshine Mint that doesn't carry a high premium. Now, I have to admit that there are a couple of coins that I just always wanted to own. I've always wanted to own a gold silver dollar. So I bought one. I've always wanted to own a gold Britannia. So I bought one. It was purely I just wanted to own one. Is there ever going to be, a great enough difference that it's worth the premium that I paid for them? No, but then again, I'm probably not going to sell them either. So, there you go. Yeah, oh, JR Cat bought some silver off some crackheads. Yeah, just be careful that they don't follow you back to where you were and then try to swipe it from you again, huh? Bush Dog wants to turn some copper into silver. Well, there's a way to do that. It's really easy. Go sell your copper and then use the money to buy some silver, right? That's the easiest way to go do that, man. It works every time. Yeah. And then Mr. Matthews, yeah, we know about your gold Rolex, buddy. Uh-huh. Yeah. So let's see here. We've got electronic scrapper. I'll buy the occasional sterling silver and sterling mainly for, because he's going to refine the gold off of those. So that's what, that's what he's into. And, electronic scrapper, we probably ought to communicate offline. I'm pretty sure you have my address, my email address. I've got some silver contacts, so we should probably talk about that. And I have some silver plated stuff. So yeah, let's talk sometime about making something happen there. Bush Dog says he was having a hard time in the alchemy lab. Yeah, I gave up on the alchemy side of things too. Just sell it and then use the money to buy something else. Chris is coming in. I tell people the same thing about whether we pay in gold. No, cash. But you can take the cash and buy gold. Yes, exactly, man. Hey, Chris, are you still paying in Bitcoin too? I know that with Board Sort you can get paid in cash or you can get paid through PayPal or a check, right? And then I'm sure that when people show up at one of your locations, you can give them cash. But do you also still do Bitcoin? I know you were doing that for a while. And let's see, JR Cats is beginning some Morgan dollars. Yeah, cool, man. Morgan dollars, cool. Oh, hey, wait a minute. Let me show you all this. So this was one of the other things that I went and bought from silver. Excuse me just a minute here. Yes, here we are. So I couldn't help myself. But I bought a bunch of these, so hopefully you guys can see them. There we go. Get the light on there. It's a little bit hard with the plastic, but these are Perth Mint silver rounds. And here you can see 2015 Australia half ounce, great hammerhead shark. So they also have a great white and they have the tiger. I just, of course, being shark scrapper, I had to have some of these shark rounds. I also got a couple of the commemorative sets that have all 3 of the coins in there. So I don't know, maybe sometime, because I when I hit my 1,000 subscribers, I think I gave one of these away. I don't remember who won that. So I don't know, maybe when we hit 10,000, we'll do another giveaway to get some of these, give a couple of those away. Anyway, those are really cool silver coins. Okay, so let's see. Board Sword, his response was, we played with Dogecoin for about a year, but no longer. Okay, all right. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. All right, so always fun to talk about gold and silver. They're fun metals. We all love them. So that was a good discussion. Now, let's get into our safety note for the day. And I feel very hypocritical with this one because I am guilty of this. But this week, I had a video up and I realized when I was watching the video that I was not setting a very good example. So I'm talking about my Friday video where I used my small lightweight 4-inch grinder to cut the back off of a satellite feed horn. I had my safety goggles on. I was good to go there, but I did not have hearing protection on. And I probably should have. It's very easy for us to kind of forget about hearing protection, especially as we get older and we don't hear so well anyway. But it's just one of those things that I probably should have put the hearing protection on, because those grinders, they can make a bit of noise, right? I would need to check and see what the actual sound pressure volumes are to look into it more. But if it's loud enough that I had to lower the volume for the video, it was probably loud enough that I should have worn hearing protection. So putting myself on report, being a hypocrite, not wearing hearing protection when I was operating a loud piece of machinery. But it's easy. God, it's so easy to forget because you're just in there, you're doing it, and most people will think about putting eye protection on, and that's very, very important. But it's really easy for us to forget about the hearing protection. So, Ian Matthews says, Shark, you're like me, you're too old to worry about your ears. Yeah. There's a certain amount of truth to that, Ian. 25 years in the Navy, guns going off, cannons going off, loud machinery in the machinery spaces. And no matter how hard we tried, there were times when I was in the engineering spaces a lot, I would frequently use double hearing protection. So I'd have the little foamy thing stuffed in my ear and then the big ear muss over my ear. But, there's only, after a while, it just, you end up with the tetanitis, the ringing in the ear, or a certain hearing loss in certain frequency ranges. It just goes along with the territory. So, and I imagine that those of you that have worked in any of the machinery industries, you've got the same kind of challenge going on out there. For the younger folks that are out there, though, please, please, please don't do what us old folks have done and get to the point where we have to yell at each other. Do the best you can to try to protect your hearing. Oh, wait a minute. I just remembered. You probably got earbuds in and you're playing some music really loud. Yeah, that's another one. Now, I'm not saying that every generation isn't guilty of playing loud music into their ears and helping to ruin their hearing. I think all of us have done it. It's just what kind of music was banging into our ears. So, that's right up there with hearing protection too. If you're going to be listening to your music and you got earbuds or something like that in your ears, don't crank it so loud that your brain is pulsing back and forth with the beats, or your eyes are bulging to the beat of the music. Okay? Cruiser Mac, that's not funny. That's just not funny. You're going to get out your little horn thing too, the little horn thing. Hey, what you say? Electronic scrapper, we all have that, right? I think it happens when we get married, right? Isn't that one of the vows that we take? To have and to hold, to love and to cherish, to ignore on a regular basis, something like that. Right? Oh man, I might be in trouble with some folks now. All right. All right. So, what is next, man? Aluminum. I have been threatening to talk about aluminum now for a while, and stuff comes up, and we get distracted away from it. So, come on, let's talk about aluminum, or as my European friends prefer to say, aluminium. One of these days, maybe I'll do the history of the word. I know there's a bunch of you folks that know the know the history of the word aluminium or aluminum. Anyway, however you like to say it. Yeah, sorry about that, Chris. Yes, aluminium. How many syllables can we put in that word, huh? All right, here we are. Aluminum. Whoa, look at this. The 24-hour spot aluminum has gone up and then crashed and ended up being down 0.0017. So we had aluminum climbing for a while, and then it dropped off. I don't get too excited about this kind of stuff because this is 24-hour spot. It's the weekend. So, I don't worry about these things. Corey J, E-Waste Mike, welcome. Great to have you all here. So if we look at the 30-day aluminum spot, what we can see is we went from 118, we dropped down here to almost 1.12, and now we're back up, we're at 1.19. So nice recovery on aluminum for the 30-day. If we look at increasing timescales, we see that we're not quite up as close as we were at the end of the year, but we're starting to make the turn. So I love when metals do the little smiley face, right? That's our favorite thing in pricing is the aluminum, is the metals, is the price smiley face. Spot smiley face. The 6 month here, we saw the climb and then it dropped off. Now we're starting to see it come back up again. Hey, by the way, let me know what you all think. Sometimes I use this pen tool so I can draw lines on these charts. I'm trying it today without that tool to see if that works better for y'all, or do you prefer when I actually draw the lines? Do the lines that I draw help to make things clearer when we're having the discussion? Let me know what y'all think. All right, 1 year aluminum spot. So it dropped off from April of 22, and it's been on a slow recovery, but we've had some fits and starts. And this is just the world trying to reopen, and some things open and some things don't. And so we got, kind of going back and forth going on here. And then our 5 year, you can see that we climbed up. We had a real good run coming out of COVID. Things dropped off as the world got going again. And, now we're dealing with stuff down in here. But I always love to look at the inventory because I'm one of these supply and demand kind of people, right? For me, it's supply and demand drives these industrial metals. So we're just gonna, if we go and we look at the 30-day London Metal Exchange warehouse stocks, for the last 30 days we've been eating into inventory. Look, peak to peak, it's going down. Base to base, it's going down. Okay, so for the last 30 days, we've been consuming more aluminum than what has been going into the stock inventory, right? 60-day, we saw that the London Metal Exchange inventory had picked up, but now it's on a decline. So I love it when I see the inventory of an industrial metal go down, because that suggests that the prices ought to go up. Here we see the 6 month, and this is kind of interesting because we kind of bounced off this top edge before the inventory started dropping again. And if you look at the slope of this line, it looks a little steeper. It looks like it was a little faster drop off here than there was here. And this one is definitely much more jagged, whereas this one dropped for a good long time before there was some recovery and then dropped off again. But what you'll notice, though, that is a little bit concerning with the 6 month is this is an overall uptrend here. So over the last 6 months, we've actually been filling up the warehouses more than we've been taking out. And I like to see long-term drops in inventory because that's going to drive long-term price increases. Here's the 1 year, and oh yeah, if we look at the 1 year, we see if we connect the bases, we see it going up. Connect these peaks, kind of going up, but not really, kind of a little bit flat. So we're starting to fill up inventory. And then if you go to the 5 year London Metal Exchange warehouse stock levels, it's pretty clear that they're trying to get those stock levels back up, but they got a long way to go before they get back up to levels that they would historically have been at. So as aluminum producers get online, we should see prices come up. Now, what is further complicating and creating some mix here? Well, I saw this article that I thought was really interesting because, and I'm sure that most of you, had picked up on this, but the anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine brought about a 200% tariff, U.S. tariff on Russian aluminum, and it increased the tariffs on other products. What I liked about this particular article was they went in and they talked about the different, when they talk about tariffs, and this is always fun, right? It's like, well, what are you putting a tariff on? Well, we're putting a tariff on aluminum products. Well, what does that mean? So what they're saying is that the aluminum and certain aluminum derivative articles and articles containing Russian origin aluminum. So they've got these two phases that they're talking about here. Effective March 10 of 2023 was a 200% tariff on the imports of aluminum and derivative aluminum articles produced in Russia. And now April 10th, we're going to see a 200% tariff will apply on imports of aluminum or derivative aluminum articles, regardless of origin, for any article containing any amount of primary aluminum that is smelted or cast in Russia. So whereas in March, they were saying any aluminum coming from Russia, but on the 10th of April, it's going to be any article coming from anywhere if any amount of the aluminum came from Russia. Now, this places an additional burden on people that are importing aluminum into the United States because they now have to demonstrate, prove what the primary country of smelt, and then the secondary country of smelt, and then the country of cast. Now, this places quite a burden on the for U.S. Companies, with stuff coming in, because Customs and Border Protection have to get all the documentation showing this. And then there's, depending upon who the importer is and who the broker is that's handling it, Border Protection may or may not want additional proof of country of origin, secondary smelt, those kind of things. And yes, there are going to be people that, try to cheat, because that's what happens, right? Companies try to get things in, sneak them in all the time. And that, let's face it, that's just what the game that gets played out there, right? Now, it's unfortunate that happens, because it makes it difficult for these tariffs to have the desired impacts in trying to get countries to alter their behaviors. But it adds a layer of challenge. It makes it difficult. And in other articles, we have seen where there are some aluminum producers who have just stopped buying aluminum that's coming from Russia, or aluminum that they know went from Russia to another country and then to them. So although there's going to be people that are going to try to cheat, there is still progress moving forward on this. Very interesting to keep an eye on this. I hope that what we're going to see is that this is going to drive up the value of aluminum, and therefore drive up the prices we get paid for aluminum that we bring into the scrapyard. Now, I have never really stockpiled aluminum. For me, it's one of those materials that I'm constantly bringing in as a way to maintain my cash flow. I will hang on to some of my copper, but my aluminum, I just keep it moving. Now, I may not take in all of one kind of aluminum. So, for instance, it all depends, right? It all depends on what happens during the week. Sometimes I'll get a whole bunch of cast. And then, of course, I get all the extruded from the heat sinks that I'm taking out of the PCs and computers. But then I might get a call, and I might get, a truckload full of sheet from something like, one of the construction clients that I have, and they redid a house, and now I've got all kinds of aluminum siding, or gutters and drainage downspouts and things of that nature. So it kind of is just one of those metals that I use to meet my cash flow. I get paid more than I do for steel, but of course it's not as heavy as steel, right? So, you got to bring in a lot, you're bringing in more of it. So aluminum is one of my cash flow metals. I keep it moving. I don't really stack up a bunch of aluminum. Now, I have been hanging on to a little bit of aluminum that I might use when I start playing around with casting and molding and melts and things like that. We'll see. We'll see how that one comes. But that's entirely different, right? That's just, I'm hanging on to that because I'm going to use it for something later on. Just the way that Ian Matthews is not a scrapper. He is a metal artiste. And so when he is scrapping things, he's doing it to get material that he needs for his artwork. And when he has too much of that material, he'll sell some of it off. How am I doing here, Ian? Have I got this one right, man? All right. Anyway, what do you all do with aluminum? What's your gig with aluminum, and how are you using it? JR Cat is for all off Russian scrap coming out of Ukraine. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. In a really, in an interesting note, I have been talking to a firm that is looking to assist Ukraine with their rebuilding efforts when the war is over. And, one of the things that I'm talking to them about is really going to have to figure out how to deal with a lot of recyclable materials. I mean, all joking aside, there's going to be a lot of stuff in Ukraine that they're either going to use it to rebuild it, or they ought to melt it down and use it for something else. So that's one of the things that I've been talking with those folks. Cruiser, you're right. It would be nice if ubiquitous wire shelving was made of aluminum, wouldn't it? Yeah. Oh, well, can't win them all. Electronic Scrapper saying that he stockpiles his cast aluminum. He melts it into 15-pound bricks so it doesn't take up a lot of room. Very cool, man. Yeah, that's cool. That is awesome. And that's not a bad thing to do if you are planning on stockpiling it, because those bricks or casting it into other forms won't take up as much space. I've been giving some thought to doing that with my copper. Of course, you're adding cost when you do that, because you got to pay for the gas, the propane or whatever that you're using to melt it, and the time that you spend melting it. But if your plan is to hold it anyway, then yeah, that's probably not a bad plan. Chuck, welcome from Manchester. Hey, Chuck, do you know Ian? He's from your side of the pond. Let's see who else is talking about what they're doing. I think those are all the comments about. Oh, Cruiser, I missed this one. My inventory is very high right now. Pathways are forming. So, Cruiser, are you saying that pathways are forming to get you more supplies, and that's why they're building up? Or are you saying you've got a lot of this material in your garage and the snows are starting to melt, so you have the pathways to get to the recycle yards where you can sell it? It's it's hard to say with you guys up in Canada, because you got to deal with all that snow and everything up there. Somebody ought to do a song about that, huh? No pathways in the shed. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're all jammed up in the shed, huh? Yeah, that happens. All right, so since we were talking about aluminum as a cash flow metal and what you're doing with your aluminum as as part of the business or your hobby, our business note for today is going to be about getting more business. Now, for those of you that do this as a hobbyist, this is not a bad discussion either, because you're going to want to get more material too. So I had one of my viewers that, hey Solers, how you doing? Yes, someone said they had no pathway in their shed. It was Cruiser, not Ian. I had one of my viewers that dropped me a line, and they told me that they've started a business. They do junk hauling and scrap. They want to try to corner the electronic waste market where they live, and they've been sending out emails to local businesses to try to get their business, but they weren't getting a lot of response. They suggested they weren't getting any response. Well, here's the deal. The first thing that I do when I get a cold email from someone is delete it, because I get hundreds of them, maybe thousands of them. I don't have time to go through all of these emails. So unless it's from somebody I know, business I know, somebody I'm doing business with, a lot of times those emails get deleted. And I think all of us are probably guilty of doing the same thing. You get so many emails, so much spam comes in. You just don't have time to go through all of the emails that pop up. And it always concerns me, because I know that one of these days I'm going to get an email from my accountant that's important for my taxes, and I'll miss it, and then I'm going to be in trouble. But that's a different story entirely. What I wrote back to, because they were asking me for suggestions on how to get more business, what I wrote back to them with was a number of recommendations. And one of them is just going old fashioned with a snail mail letter, a hard copy letter, or knocking on the doors. There's a reason why this gets more attention. First of all, it's so unusual to get a hard copy letter anymore that people almost open it out of curiosity. It's like, wow, you took the time to write me a letter. The least I could do is read it. And as long as you make it, a half page or 1 page, don't use teeny tiny little font, 12 at the minimum, and just be very direct and clear about what it is you do and what you want to do for them and how they can contact you. You have a good possibility that they'll respond. I actually have gained a couple of really good clients because I sent them letters. It's really easy to do. You can find the business address for every company that's in your area. and you send them a letter, and I can almost guarantee that the letter will get read. Somebody will probably read that letter as opposed to delete and it's gone. The other thing is knocking on doors. You may not get in to see the owner, right? There may be a receptionist, there may be, some gate monitor that's there, but you at least get the chance to meet a human and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm in the scrapping business. I would like to deal with your electronic scrap. Here's my card. Please have whoever is responsible for this get hold of me so I can see how I can be of service to you. That human interaction can make all the difference in the world when you're trying to gain more business. Now, it can take time, and you may not get a lot of the responses from your cold emails because, again, they may read it and say, yeah, okay, whatever, and toss it. But I have found that I gain more clients from my letters, my hard copy letters, or my in-person exchanges with them than I ever do with cold emails. So let's see. That's not what I thought there was something else. Sorry about that, Cruiser. Let's see here. Send them a fax. People get yes, you could try sending a fax. That's true. When they hear that fax sound, it may get their attention, and they may go over to check out what the fax sound is. George, welcome. George Richardson, welcome to the show today. Everyday Solars, I've got permission from a new school skip this holidays, but you hurt your back. Oh, man, girl, hang in there, right? Take care of that. Get that taken care of. And let's see. The other, I thought I had some other comments here, but I didn't see it. So here's another thing that you can try to do, and it's proven to be very successful for me. Look for your any kind of business networking groups that you have where you live. I recently joined a chapter of Business Networking International, and yes, they're all over the world, right? So it is a group of business people. We get together once a week. We talk about our businesses and we educate each other on what our various businesses do so that we can refer our businesses to other people that we meet. Now, the way BNI works is each chapter only allows one representative from that particular industry. So I'm the only scrap and recycling business in my chapter with 75 people. So that means that I've got 75 salespeople out there trying to help me find business. And then, likewise, I am acting as a salesman for them. Now, there are other networking groups out there that personally I don't think they're worth the powder and shot to blow them to hell. Most of your local chamber of commerce is a waste of time. They get together, they have lunch, they charge you too much for rubber chicken, and you don't ever get anything accomplished. But I have found that BNI is a more serious group of business people, and it's worth the investment. So you might want to look into them. If there are other business networking groups in your area, then you should take a look at them. And what's the worst that happens? You spend a little bit of time, you meet with them, and you decide, it's not what I'm into. But that networking can be a very good way to develop more business and bring in more stuff. Now, at BNI, you do have to be a real business. You can't be a hobby. So you just got to, keep that in mind. All righty, so let's get on to the stocks for today. Now, this is really exciting because in this week's edition of the investment survey, now remember, this is where I get my data from, the Value Line Investment Survey. No advertising. It's all just straight information. And this week, they analyzed the precious metal industry and the metals and mining industry. So I was really excited because there's a couple of names here that I have been paying attention to for a while. Now, the first one we're going to go to is Royal Gold. Now, I like Royal Gold, but even though the dividend is really low, I like Royal Gold because they're the only one of the precious metal companies that actually meets my criteria, right? So right here, you see their dividend is only 1.2%. This is as of the 31st of March. Their price per share, $125.94. Ouch, that's a lot of money. I do not own any of this, and I'm probably not going to own any of this. They're not qualified for cash flow or earnings per share, but look at this. They are qualified in dividend per share. They're a Div 0. That means that for the last 17 years, they have increased their dividend per share every year. I mean, that is awesome when you think about all the ups and downs that goes on in the gold market. Now, why is this interesting to me? Because Royal Gold, listen to the description of the company, acquires and manages precious metal royalties and metal streams. The company focuses on financing projects that are in production or in development stage in exchange for royalty interests. So in other words, they're not actually mining the gold. They're buying into the people that are mining the gold in return for royalties from that gold. That really lowers their overhead and their risk, and that's what allows them to pay a dividend. So a very interesting company in the way that they go about getting their money. Now, when I compare that to others who are actually mining the precious metals like Pan American Silver, yeah, Pan American Silver is paying 2.2%, but they're not qualified because they've had a few years where they had to drop their dividend. All right. So now, because we just got done talking about aluminum, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about an aluminum company. So we're looking at Kaiser Aluminum. Now, I like Kaiser Aluminum, and while I don't own any shares right now, I am giving some consideration to purchasing some shares of Kaiser Aluminum. We just talked about what's going on in the aluminum market, so there's that factor. But look at this: their yield is 4.9%. That's their dividend yield, 4.9%. And their share price is only $62.96. So that's a very reasonable entry point for a lot of people. Oops, look at that. Sorry about that. Hey, by the way, whenever you see in your Excel spreadsheets, whenever you see all those hashes, it just means the cell isn't big enough to show the numbers. So you just got to, open it up a little bit. Kaiser Aluminum is not qualified by cash flow or earnings per share. And technically, they're not qualified by dividends per share because they had this flat year back here, 09 to 10, and they are projected to have a flat year between 2023 and 2024. Now, that could easily change and put them into, another year of increase. They've got a good track record of increasing their dividends per share. So I believe that what'll happen is, look at this. Their cash flow per share is going up. The earnings per share is going up. I believe that what's going to happen is they will increase their dividends per share as well. And that'll make them a Div 1 and qualified for consideration. I just see a lot of good potential here for what's going on with them. Here's the year-to-year changes. So you can see all the times that their earnings and cash flow per share were negative. The dividend per share is so small in number relative to their cash flow and earnings per share that you don't see a lot of the gold bars here. Now, one of the things that that I like about the investment survey is because they don't take any advertising, and everything that they talk about is purely based on data and their best evaluation of the data. I like how they put this. Kaiser Aluminum produces semi-fabricated specialty aluminum products. The company offers rolled, extruded, drawn aluminum products used principally for aerospace and defense, automotive, consumer durables, electronics, electrical, and machinery and equipment applications. They have 13 manufacturing facilities, one located in Canada, 12 in the United States. They have almost 4,000 employees. Now they talk about the earnings and boring details of numbers that I'm not going to read to you, but this is what I like about the way the investment survey folks put things. Here's their summary. These shares are not for the risk averse. Earnings have been volatile over the past 5 years, and we expect this trend to continue. Kaiser's low number of shares outstanding causes small changes in expenses to have a magnified impact on share net. In fact, for every $1 million change in expenses, earnings per share will be impacted by approximately 4 cents. At this point, the shares are best suited for traders who can take advantage of rapid movements in the price of aluminum, or patient investors who can stomach near-term share price volatility. I'm a patient investor. I don't trade on the stock market. I'm an investor. So for me, a company that is going to pay me 4.9%, yeah, I can accept a little bit of volatility as long as they keep paying me that 4.9%. I like that. So a really cool set of stocks that we looked at this week. And by the way, for those of you that are my Patreon members, I promised you a video last week talking about some of the big names, the electronics companies. That you're going to get that this week. I had forgotten that I had already uploaded the video that you got for the week. So my apologies, but you'll get that this week. So I'll get that up for you all. All right, then. I love it when the precious metals or the mining industry stocks come up. It's really fun to read all about those companies. If y'all have any questions and you have a mining company or a precious metal company that you're particularly interested in, go ahead and shoot me an email. If it's covered by the investment line survey, I'll be happy to share with you what I can, what information I have on them. So we had a really another interesting comment that came in today, and this person was in the chat here. I don't know if they're still in the chat. So Corey J dropped a note on one of my videos. He said, since your yard does number 2 with the ends on, I'm assuming they don't care about zip ties or tape. So we're talking about number 2 insulated copper wire, and I'm sure that every one of you knows what he's talking about. The little zip ties that they use to either keep the wires bound together or bind the wires to a piece of metal or something like that. And then tape. So I did send a response to Corey, but this is one of those things where, yeah, the short answer is, yeah, they don't care. Hey, Corey, there you go. My yard, they don't really care. But if it was something like the big, thick Velcro straps, they would have an issue with that. So I try to not put a lot of the nylon zip ties in with them, but it's not like I go out of my way to cut them off either. So if it's a zip tie that's holding the wire bundle onto something and I snip it, it's probably going to fall back into the computer shell or on the desk, and it's not going to end up, in the wire bin. But if it's a zip tie that's holding a bunch of wires together, I'm probably not going to go through the trouble to cut off all of those zip ties. If there's a wrap of electrical tape holding this stuff together, I'm not going to mess around with that either. Again, they don't care as far as they're concerned. That's just more insulation. If it was a lot of that stuff, then they might say, yeah, we're going to throw that in the low grade bucket because that's just a lot of tape. It's too much insulation. But I have yet to have any trouble with that with them. So the short answer to your question is no, I don't mess with it unless it's the big heavy Velcro straps. Again, you'll get to know your yard. You probably already know your yard, what they're willing to accept and not accept. And that's really all that matters is, what does your buyer want and how do they want it prepared? How many of you have to cut the ends off your wire? I'm just curious because I had one yard and they're still, one of my yards, they require that you cut the ends off and they don't pay as much. So you got to do more work and get paid less. So obviously I don't take the wire to them. But then I have my non-ferrous yard that, they don't care. It's fine. You can leave it on. So I'm curious how many of you have to cut the ends off. And if you do cut the ends off, what are you doing with those ends? Because, some of those ends are gold-plated material, right? So you could, if you're selling to board sort, you could throw them in with your gold connector ends. So let's see here. New England scrapper, for me, the ends come off, but tape, zip ties, Velcro tags all stay on. Okay. All right. Corey J, yeah, I feel it's waste a bunch of time when it's not copper wiring. Excuse me. Yeah. Nice question for Junk. He wants to, Junk Cruiser wants to know if you scrapped out the welder yet. Let's see. Bush Dog, I cut the connector ends off and he's been saving them in a peanut butter container. You know what? That's funny. I have a peanut butter jar full of connector ends as well. That's what I used to use. Now, when I got it filled up, I had to go to a bigger bin. So, and why do I do that? Well, because sometimes I cut them off. One of these days, I'm going to get my lazy keister up to boardsort.com. When I do, I want to take some stuff with me. I'm not just going to drive up there to go have lunch with Chris, although that would be a lot of fun, but I'm going to take some stuff up there to sell to him. And one of the things I'm going to take up there is going to be this bin of connector ends. Why? Because I had started collecting them before I realized that my local yards didn't care if I cut them off or not. So I got a whole bunch of them. So I might as well take them up there, right? Excuse me. I'm sorry. Hey, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but these are for sale. If anybody wants a Shark Scrapper mug. I do this, and I don't know how it shows up on your end, but there's a place where I can drag the coffee mugs over. So they're all there. All of the artwork is something that I've designed on my own. And one of the things that that I have is it's sort of a play on a phrase here but it's like, but I've got mugs with a guy holding a hammer, and it says, "You can have my hammer, my Omer, when you pry it out of my cold dead hands." And I've also got one for a driver. So, if you know anybody that's really into hammers or drivers, that might be a fun coffee mug for them. Anyway, I think you should see a link somewhere if if you're interested in that. So let's see. Raphael says gold-plated connectors and base metal connectors are two categories. Both of them low paid, unfortunately. Yeah, they're not. They don't pay a whole lot. I don't know what board sort is paying right now. It was $1 a pound, probably a little bit less right now. I'm not quite sure. CU scrapping, that's what I was wondering, if it's worth not having to maybe get deducted or negotiate about it. Let's see, what did CU scrapping say? Gold connector ends, I say, for my e-waste buyer, plug ends go to scrap. Okay, all right. I think, yeah. All right, cool. Bush Dog says he goes through a lot of peanut butter. I got to tell you this. All right, I'm going to tell you all something about me that, I don't know, maybe you don't know this. But I love to eat peanut butter with my ice cream. Vanilla ice cream, chocolate ice cream with peanut butter. I love it. I discovered that when I was in the Navy, that flavor combination. So, man, when we have dessert, if it's ice cream, the peanut butter's coming out. So yeah, we go through a lot of peanut butter here too. Like Shark Scrapper mentioned, it depends on your yard. Wiring on power supplies, I just cut off the power supplies and throw it in with the low grade. Yeah, that's a good thing to do there. And Everyday Solder saying I just chuck the other connectors that I have, teeny weeny bit of base metal inside, shred tins. Yep, very cool. All right, everybody, we have had an awesome day together. Thank you all so much for being here. I had a blast. Remember, if you have autoplay enabled, when I end this stream, it's going to take you straight over to Scrapping Irish's live stream. If you do not have autoplay enabled, you might get a link or a note or something like that. Whatever and however you do it, please go join us over on Scrapping Irish live stream, and we can talk more about peanut butter and toast. And if you're from Australia, do you ever mix Vegemite and peanut butter? All right, y'all. I'll see you over there.